The Amped Up Podcast for Wednesday, July 19th, 2023. They did it. World Wrestling Entertainment is no longer just bringing their talent to NXT to put over talent or pop a rating. They're actually winning championships now. Wait till you hear what WWE did just last night during the NXT telecast on the USA Network. Speaking of the USA Network, we have the RAW rating. Did it go up? Did it go down? Did it do anything? A show that, whether you think was good or bad, somehow for a lot of us was actually entertaining. But did people care about it? We're going to discuss in today's podcast. Also, Alexa Bliss, a huge congratulations over to her with some news that she broke. Speaking of news, we have an update on the Bayley injury situation, and Britt Baker of AEW speaks about who she would like to face in the UK for All In. You may be surprised, but it actually brings up a lot of good scenarios should they decide to do such. Logan Paul makes a bold ask of WWE. All of this and a lot more coming up in today's 7/19/23 Amped Up Podcast. Before we get this party rocking, two things BC is going to ask. One, right from the jump, smash that up, help out the alg. I appreciate that very much. Number two, there's all this discussion of who should take Roman Reigns' championship. When Roman's reign is over, he passes the torch and subsequently the title. Who would you have win that championship? There's a lot of discussion. They passed over Sami Zayn in Montreal. They passed over Cody Rhodes at WrestleMania. So who gets it? Down below, I want you guys to give me one name who wins the championship from Roman Reigns. Who's the one to dethrone Roman Reigns for the WWE Universal Unified Championship? Is it Jey Uso at SummerSlam? Is it Solo Sikoa in the future? Is it the lightning hot LA Knight? Yeah. Is it Cody Rhodes next year at WrestleMania or beyond? Or do you have another name? Drew McIntyre gets the IC title, holds it for a little bit, loses it, and then goes in the future to get the championship in a non-pandemic situation. Give me one name. Who dethrones Roman Reigns and takes that title? Everybody has a thought on this. I really am trying to get a gauge as to who people want to see take that championship. There's so many names, there can only be one. So do me a favor down below. Give me one name, if you were booking, who defeats Roman Reigns for that championship. Now let's get this party rocking if you don't mind. First and foremost, thank you to every Amplified Unit member that tuned into yesterday's live stream or caught it afterwards. The Monday Night Raw review was the focus of yesterday's Amped Up podcast. We had a wild, fun time, and I appreciate every single one of you guys that even spent a moment checking out that podcast, man. I do my very best to entertain you guys, and I thank you for choosing me to be your pro wrestling one-stop shop. And I appreciate and I thank every single one of you guys for tuning in to my form of entertainment. If I can entertain you guys even for a few minutes in the day, then that makes me pretty damn happy and keeps me rocking amplified status going forward. So I appreciate every single one of you guys, man. We had a wild, fun time, and let's keep that rocking straight through SummerSlam. Speaking of, I want to start off, if you don't mind, with a SummerSlam story. Logan Paul. Listen to this. Logan Paul asking a pretty bold demand. Not demand, it's an ask. It's an ask. And it is kind of justified. It's a cool thing he's trying to do. Logan Paul wants to start SummerSlam so he can show up to his brother's fight against Nate Diaz later that night. This is what Logan Paul said, and a quote, This was on his podcast, Impulsive it is called. And I quote from Logan Paul, "As soon as my match ends, I'm going to hop on a private jet, fly to Dallas in my gear still, walk in the ring with my brother for his fight against Nate Diaz. I'm going to at least try. It is barely possible, but how incredible would it be?" Now, this isn't just something he's just throwing out there on his podcast. We are hearing that he is actually lobbying to start the show so he can do that. He is very, very tight with Paul Levesque McMahon in WWE, so I think there'll be no problem with accommodating that request. I think. Now, when he says it is barely possible, there's no lies detected. I believe the Diaz-Paul fight is in Dallas, Texas. Obviously, SummerSlam is Detroit, Michigan. So that's approximately a 2.5 to 3 hour flight via jet. Now, he's got a personal jet. Who knows? Maybe he puts that thing into amplified drive and gets there within 2 hours, right? But there is a lot of rules you got to follow up in the air. There's only a certain amount of speed you can go, and you cannot. It's not like just running past a red light on the road. So that's, you're looking at, and you got to factor in, even if you have a personal jet, you got to factor in some delays that'll be upon landing, where you can actually deboard that plane. There's a lot to factor in. You want to at least say 3 hours, right? That's the bare minimum. Let's just say 3 hours. So if SummerSlam, I don't think it starts at 7 anymore. I think it's 8 p.m. Eastern time anyway. If SummerSlam starts around 8, you put on your match, you get to the back, you say your how you doing, your goodbyes, you take off. Bare minimum, if this is a 10-minute match, and you got to expect Ricochet and Logan Paul to have a lot of fun stuff planned, I look at that to be at least 15 minutes. You're not leaving Detroit. Bare minimum 8:45, guys. Unless he's literally running from the ring to jump on the jet, you got to think 8:45. And then you tack on 3 hours, 9, 10, 11:45, and then you have to get over to the arena where Diaz and Paul will be, 12:30. Now, I don't know exactly these main events for these fights. They go on very late. I have seen main events go on 1 a.m. and past. So who knows? Maybe Jake Paul lags it on, knowing his brother is on his way. There's a chance, man. And these Paul brothers are, they're wild enough to try to make it happen. But I thought that was an interesting note. You could have a little bit of a spoiler there as the first match of SummerSlam. Logan Paul is on a mission to try to catch his brother's fight in Texas, of all places. I mean, so far, couldn't have just been like a state or two away. But all the best to him. And think about this, man. The opening match is almost, if not as important as the main event. So you really want to kick off the show the right way, set the vibe, set the tone of the night. And Ricochet and Logan Paul could absolutely do that. So something to keep an eye out on, guys. And also, if I can stick over with some news, the Bayley situation and her leg update. I can speak. More coffee, BC. Her leg update. Now, a lot of people, when this injury happened, they thought she just kind of fell, which obviously is never good. It's like Shane McMahon. He jumps up, tweaks his leg, doesn't even take a move. He just lands awkwardly and he's done, right? Shatters his leg. That's never good. It's like football. You can see some gnarly hits and everybody just gets right back up. And then you see somebody just kind of take a nothing burger hit or just fall and something just snapped. So in this case, a lot of people are like, oh no, Bayley just fell. But if you look at some of the clips that were out there from the arena, the situation occurred when Asuka went low and Bayley went high. So it's just a botch on somebody's part. It was just a miscommunication. We don't know who from. Bayley went high, Asuka went low, and Asuka did clip the shin area of Bayley's leg. You see Bayley kind of plants the foot And for a split second, it all happens fast, but in a split second, she kind of just tweaks that leg. It looks like the knee. Again, I don't have confirmation if that's the same leg that she was out with the torn ACL and tweaked MCL that she was out for over 9 months just last year. I don't know if it's the same leg, and we don't even know if it's the same injury. The update that we're getting is WWE is not, as of the recording of this podcast, guys, as of this recording, WWE has not issued an actual statement on the injury. The latest the doctor is saying is that they're waiting for the swelling to go completely down before they take her in for more testing. Now, that is actually, I know that sounds strange, right? You can't just decide right now what it is. You have to wait for swelling? That could take 2 more days. But that actually is protocol in sports, guys. My Yankees, for instance, we just had a couple of scenarios like that where they had to wait for swelling to go down. It took 2 full days before they could take him for more testing. And I'm like, you can't just find, you with all this training, you don't know what that is. But that is protocol, man. That's just how you do it. And it's how you do it accurately, and it takes time. So as of this recording, that's the latest. At least they told us that, but they're just waiting for swelling to go down, and then they're going to send her in for more testing. That's not good, obviously. You can look at it 2 ways. It's good that they haven't definitively just said, yup, that's what this is, because it's so severe. So that's the good news. The bad news is they also can't say she's good to rock. They need more testing. And sometimes that doesn't lead to anything that we want to hear either. So all the best. A speedy recovery to Bayley, but not too speedy. We want her to come back at 100. Not be rushed. And now this is 2 big injuries within a year and a half. So, man, I don't know. She didn't really have anything SummerSlam-wise anyway, right? This is a very hard card to get on. It's already packed up. And I guess she was working with EO to tease the cash in, and then eventually Damage Control would just implode. EO and Bayley. I don't know, man. I just thought Bayley is doing the best work of her career as a heel, but the booking just doesn't want to back her, so it doesn't feel it. But it's still a shame that just when she starts to get something, or you start to feel like she's feeling it again, she was just talking about how she would like Mercedes Moné, Sasha Banks to come back to WWE. She feels it is eventually going to happen. Ah, man, you hate to see it. But all the best to Bayley. That's the latest we have on her. Once the swelling goes completely down, more testing. If I could switch over, well, let's stick with the females in WWE real quick. Congratulations over to Alexa Bliss and her husband Ryan Cabrera, I believe his name is, a musician, married recently and announced their pregnancy, man. Alexa Bliss having a kid. Very cool if you like kids. Some people don't want any. That's also cool. Alexa Bliss has decided to. I think Becky Lynch made every female have a little bit of mom fever, and then Trish Stratus comes back and is probably showing all these photos of her kid. So then you got the Alexa Bliss is like, all right, as long as I'm out, let's get busy. Ryan, get over here, she's saying. So the latest, though, is we're hearing they're having a baby girl. So they have announced what it is going to be. A little Alexa. All right. There you go, Alexa Bliss. Congratulations. And we wish her the best. And we hope that she can come back in a fun way, man. I always enjoyed her work with Bray Wyatt, Wyndham Rotunda. Some people just said no thank you. But if you go back to that WrestleMania a few years ago, you remember Bray Wyatt was taking on Randy Orton. And for everybody that just slams Bray Wyatt, slanders everything the dude does, I want you guys to go back to that Mania. Watch the crowd when Alexa Bliss is up on that Jack-in-a-Box. And Bray Wyatt is in the ring with Randy Orton. He's about to take that RKO. Watch and listen to that crowd when Bray and Alexa are staring at one another. And then you try to tell people like BC that it just didn't work. You look at the ratings, the metrics on social. You look at every number that Bray Wyatt catapulted to number 1. Even merchandise. He was the first person to beat Roman Reigns. in the past several years, and he did it twice. So he was at the top of every metric, but just look, watch and listen to that WrestleMania moment. It was one of the loudest moments of WrestleMania. So a lot of people can say Alexa and Bray didn't work or this and that, but it's just wrong. It actually did work, and it worked monumentally, and it really made a lot of people that otherwise weren't so keen on Alexa like BC. I didn't really see that much value for the push that she was getting. I mean, like 6 title reigns or something she had, and Sasha was over there with like 3 title reigns in 86 days at one point. I just was like, well, why push Alexa, not somebody like Mercedes? I couldn't understand it. I mean, there was obviously reasons why, but BC and a lot of people were not keen on her. But then you put her in a story, you put her in something that a lot of us were at least intrigued with. Whether you think it was good or bad, that's your prerogative. That's what you just like and don't like. That's fine. But as far as what's working, what's actually intriguing, the ratings showed you. Those WrestleMania moments with Alexa staring at Bray and hearing that pop, that showed you that it actually was captivating. Now, Monday Morning Quarterback, afterwards you could say it was absolute trash, but it captivated us. The booking would just derail it like it always does, but we hope the best for Alexa Bliss, man. I really hope she comes back and we actually care. And I mean that, like we actually care about what she's doing. It's what we hope for all of these talents. So Alexa Bliss, her husband, I believe, Ryan Cabrera is his name, a musician, recently married and now having a baby girl is what they said. All right. A little Alexa running around WWE. Let's stick with the females, but let's jump over to AEW, All Elite Wrestling, man. Britt Baker was recently asked who she would want over at All In, which is coming up very soon. And she said if she had it her way, it would be Soraya. So she could beat her in her own country, avenging the loss she took to Soraya. And a lot of people were like, well, wait, all this time trying to get all of the love as a face, beating Soraya in her own country will just collect you all the boos. But it brings up an interesting scenario here. Soraya losing in the UK makes a lot of sense. It would really rile up people, and I think it would help Soraya in the long run. More importantly, whoever beats Soraya in the UK, man, what that would do for them. And that's why I feel there are better names than Britt Baker. But it did bring up that interesting thought of Soraya at this point in her career losing in her own home country. I don't think Soraya's one of those people that needs to win in her own country. Who knows how Tony Khan even books Soraya at All In. But losing, looking up at the lights in Wembley, man, that's an AEW moment, and that's a big moment for whoever would defeat her. Again, I don't think Baker would need that, to be honest, but Baker does need something. So whether she gets booed by the entire Wembley Stadium or not by defeating Soraya at All In, if that was to be the scenario, so be it. She needs to remind everybody that she was the face of that division. A lot of people don't want to hear that and don't like that. I understand. I'm just telling you, Britt Baker was. Britt Baker with that championship, actually, I felt was reputable. It put prestige on the championship. She was a champion for a long time, had some good defenses. I feel ever since Britt Baker dropped the championship has not been as relevant. Doesn't matter if it's a Jamie Hayter, a Tony Storm, and so many in between, Thunder Rosa. They either don't keep it for a long time or they just don't know how to book them. And it's unfortunate. There's a lot of good female talent in AEW. Britt Baker, ever since she dropped the title, not only has the title itself seemed to be less prestigious, but the booking. Britt Baker seems to be less prestigious in that company. So there is something monumental that has to happen with Britt Baker. It just brought up an interesting scenario. Imagine if they were wrestling and she defeats Soraya in the UK. They would be flipping out probably, unless they really love the dentist, Britt Baker, man. But she was also asked, outside of AEW, In the WWE realm, who would your dream opponent be? She said Charlotte Flair, and I'm just like, man, there's so many other great matches that you would have and gel and have chemistry with way more than Charlie Flair. Bianca Belair and Britt Baker would be a lot of fun. Io Sky and Britt Baker. Rhea Ripley and Britt, I bet you, man. Seeing the Britt Baker lights out matches. I mean, imagine Rhea Ripley and Britt Baker. But, everybody seems to choose Charlie Flair because she's at the top of the mountain because that's where WWE placed her. Man, I just wish people had a different answer, man. Just, there's other females that are just exceptional, rocking, and even better than Charlie. And then outside of even WWE, Britt Baker said her dream match would be good friend Deonna Purrazzo. And of course, Trinity Fatu Naomi just defeated Purrazzo for the Impact Knockouts Championship this past week, Slammiversary. So Deonna Purrazzo, 5-time champ, collectively for over 500 days over in the Knockouts division. Deonna Purrazzo and Jordynne Grace, they pretty much put, along with Mickie James and Gail Kim beforehand, and Mickie James still to this day. But aside from them, Deonna Purrazzo, Jordynne Grace, I mean, when you think of who put the Knockouts division and a big chunk of women's wrestling on their back, I mean, those are two names that a lot of people might not know. And Deonna Purrazzo, man, it's good to see her get so much shine. She has this high-profile match with Trinity. And when you have people like Britt Baker in AEW saying who would one of my dream matches be, or who would I like to wrestle outside of AEW, and she mentions Deonna Purrazzo, I just think that's really awesome. So anyway, the whole sitch here for BC is, man, Soraya having a match, UK, flat on her back, looking up at the lights, piss some people off, have a lot of fun, right? Moving on. The Monday Night Raw rating. Monday Night Raw scored a 1.88. 2 weeks ago, they actually tipped over 1.9. Last week, 1.81, I believe. So this is consistent right between that 1.9 sem-odd and 1.8 sem-odd. It's a high 1.8. Again, that is 1.88. This is one of those numbers. Seth Rollins recently said that the little bit of spike we're seeing in viewership for WWE has a lot to do with the writer's strike. There's a big writer's strike. There's not a lot of shows that are being able to be filmed. A lot of people are standing up and unifying with all the writers, much of Hollywood. And so the live entertainment like WWE and pro wrestling, that's looking mighty attractive at this point. And they feel like a lot of people are, even audiences are flocking to it more. Now, I don't know how that I mean, are viewers like standing with the writers as well? And they're like, I'm not going to watch these shows then? But for whatever reason, WWE in the last several weeks, they've went up about $150, I'd say 150,000-ish viewers. And there's no real call for that spike. The past 2 weeks before this week, the shows wasn't that entertaining, actually. This week, it actually was entertaining. So if you told me they pulled a 1.95, I probably wouldn't be too shocked. I mean, people tune in and they see a pirate Viking ship. Maybe they tune in for a few extra minutes. If they see Ronda Rousey up in a hidden level of the nosebleed section, maybe they're like, where is Ronda at? Balor and Sethington with that good backstage segment. I wouldn't have doubted a 1.95. This was actually a more entertaining week of Raw. But when you see a 1.9 plus a couple weeks ago, when they're flirting around 1.7, you kind of think, yeah, there has to be a reason for that little spike. Now, if you're wondering, NFL football is not too far away, guys. September, it is back. It's already heading into the end of July, and they have yet to get back into the twos. They have yet to even hit 2 million. So when football comes back and you knock off a couple 100,000 more viewers, right from the jump, you're right back to 1.7. Now, if you have a really big game and WWE Raw is really bad, you're right back into the 1.5s. So it was really important for WWE to try to get back to about 2-2, 2-3 status, bare minimum, and grind from there. They're not going to hit 2-5. I told you guys that. Good luck even hitting 2-2, I told you, because I just saw the trajectory go so low that even without football, it was going to be a hard time getting back to 2-2. I didn't think 2.0 would be this hard to achieve, but they have yet to do such. They cannot clinch that 2-0, and NFL is going to be right on their ass now. So they are going to drop several 100,000, but this is a good time for even a little bit of a spike. I mean, they could easily be 1-7, 1-8 this week like they were just a few weeks ago. And then when NFL comes back, you're looking at a 1-3, 1-4 possibly. So that's a lot of numbers jargon, but even though this is not good for a Monday Night Raw show, obviously, a 1.8 sem-odd, when you follow the numbers like BC does, the slight uptick, and you've remained consistent with it the last 3 weeks, even hitting 1.9, I believe that was last week, but to stay high 1.8s to 1.9-ish, I guess that's a starting point, you know. This past week showed me something, though, that they actually are trying, I think. I'm not saying that's good or not, what they're producing, but entertaining. It's wild enough to go, all right, you know, let's see what this pirate ship does. But what is Ronda doing up there? What is this Balor and Sethington face-to-face gonna achieve? A solid main event. I wish it had a cliffhanger, but it was a really good tag match main event. They're just always stuffing KO and Sammy in the main event, so that kind of gets redundant. But, 1.88. It didn't really go up. It didn't go down. It just, a little bit it went down, but it just remained there, you know? And that just, it's a testament to, do people care about the show? And there's still too many fans that don't feel they need to tune in. There's no FOMO. There's no fear of missing out if they miss these shows. They know they can catch it whenever, and it'll probably be the same stories or the same matches. So if we get more of what we saw this Monday, and just hopefully things make more sense and it's more entertaining, more fun, and just better, then we're on the right track. That's what I will say. So I can't slam Raw too much. We had a lot of fun with the review yesterday, but at least, as I said several times in that review, at least for BC, it was entertaining. Now, I want to go into, let's stay with the USA Network. I want to get into NXT. Now, I was not able to see the show. Obviously, this is audio formatted, a straight podcast, audio format, pop in your earbuds, and hopefully you guys are enjoying this. And that's because we had an impromptu travel trip. So I was not able to catch NXT. Normally, I'm not on Tuesdays and Wednesdays anyway, just like extra business that I have to attend to. But I was able to, I can't even believe it, man. I was able to hear about the Judgment Day back in NXT last night. Dum Mysterio, Dominik, taking on Wes Lee for the North American Championship. Now, I brought this up in yesterday's live stream, the Raw review, to JR9 Gaming, and to my whole unit. But I said, because JR9 had left a super chat talking about how that, Dominik cannot, under no circumstance, go into NXT as a main roster talent and win a title. Under no situation is that acceptable. And something like that. JR9 Gaming, my right-hand man on the channel, said something like that. And my response was, that's something they could do because they want Judgment Day going into SummerSlam, and we're supposed to feel like, yes, Balor could defeat Rollins for that championship. So when you see Judgment Day come down the aisle, Rhea Ripley has a championship, Damian Priest has a briefcase, Dominik has a championship, and Balor's about to win his championship. That's what WWE likes to do, right? They want that visual. Now, I say under no circumstances should Sethington already be losing his title. He just got it. And people are already calling that a participation trophy championship, a paper championship, a runners-up title. And Sethington said, well, it's my job to make sure that this is looked at as prestigious and reputable. Well, you don't do that by losing a month after you got it. But knowing WWE, they would absolutely have Balor get this title and then have all of them with something, championships or at least a briefcase, And he's going to tease in with Balor every week, Damian. So I just don't understand taking the title off of Sethington. So all of this was really just to give the illusion that Balor's going to win because all of Judgment Day is holding an accessory, a championship or a briefcase. So in my response to Jer9 Gaming in that super chat, I said they could do that, man. Could you imagine? Well, there's no more imagining it because it actually happened. They went into NXT and Dominik Mysterio became the new North American champion, defeating Wes Lee. Damian Priest went to take out Lee, not with the briefcase. I think it was the North American Championship. Wes Lee was able to duck it, and Rhea Ripley was there waiting with the Women's Championship, and she knocked out Wes Lee. The whole time, Balor, I believe, was distracting the official. So by the time the official turned around, Rhea Ripley had already taken out Wes Lee, and Dominik Mysterio just pinned what was left. 1, 2, 3, became the new North American champion. Man, NXT going off the air with that main event. Judgment Day standing tall. Dominik Mysterio wins the NXT's North American title. I don't know how you guys feel about that, but wow, that is a monumental call for this company. It's one thing to have all of these main roster talents jump back over to NXT. When Paul Levesque McMahon said that this was supposed to be looked at as the college to the NFL. The main roster is the NFL. NXT is the college. We are just developmental. We just happen to have developed into a brand. But never does NFL players go back to college, right? Or Michael Jordan in the NBA didn't leave the Bulls to go back to North Carolina to whoop some college ass. No, that's not what that's. So why would main roster talent go back to college, which is NXT? So it doesn't make sense. It doesn't fall in line with exactly what Paul Levesque McMahon said. But such is the case. It's one thing that main roster talents go back, but to have them win the titles, I agree wholeheartedly with JR9 Gaming, man, in that live stream yesterday and what he said, that's just unacceptable. That can't happen. It's one thing to even beat the talent, which we saw Carmelo Hayes, the champion, get defeated by multiple main roster talents now. And others. Braun Breaker, and you guys can list more that have already been defeated. Baron Corbin looks to be back in NXT full time. He's going to defeat a lot of people, obviously, in NXT. How does that help? He's a main roster guy who just didn't work under 10 different characters. A lone wolf, a wrestling god, a broke baron, a happy baron, king baron, Constable Corbin. There's been so many gimmicks, so many characters, they didn't work. And now he's back in NXT to defeat all of the developmental talent, supposedly. I don't know how that's supposed to help them. But again, it's one thing to have them come back. The Dana Brooks, the Baron Corbins, the Alis, the Sethington Rollinses, all of Judgment Day. But it's another thing to have them win the championships. And I just spoke of Ali. Guys, wasn't Ali supposed to take on Wes Lee at the Bash, the next big event for NXT? Ali was supposed to go for that title. So are they going to do Ali, Dominik, Wes Lee triple threat? I don't know. Ali was in that picture. It's almost like they don't know exactly what they're doing. They're throwing any piece of bologna or ham at the wall and seeing what name it lands on, and then they're just going to say, you know what, let's just go this route. And I don't know if the waters weren't muddied before in NXT, they really are now. Now this could pop a rating again, and this could be this is exactly what they want in terms of a new TV rights deal, right? Get the rating as high as possible. Show USA Network that it's a show that people want to watch. And that's why you're seeing all of this main roster. But it also says a lot about people. They weren't able to capture the attention with what they were trying to do originally. And a lot of fans, especially here in the Amplified unit, say that NXT is a good show. It's just there's not that connection. Fans don't feel like they have to watch it. Or they don't give it another chance. And WWE, it looks like, completely just gave up on it. And now it is, I mean, it's more brand than developmental now more than ever. Some people look at that as a good thing, some not. A lot of people didn't watch NXT to begin with, so they're like, hey, no harm, no foul. At least it made me look over here. But if you really like the product, like JR9 Gaming and so many others here in the unit alone, this is not the NXT that you loved just recently. That is a big... Listen, I'd say congratulations to Dominik Mysterio, and I will. Congratulations, but I just don't know what this does. You went to NXT and won their, what we were told, developmental talent from a dude like Wes Lee. I just don't know how much congratulations I can... You know what I mean? I don't know. The waters are muddied, man. And now I really don't know what they do with Ali. So interesting there, man. Interesting to see what you guys feel about that. That is a massive development, and I had a feeling they were going to go that way, the way they've been booking Judgment Day. But you got to be careful of oversaturation, right? You have to be careful of overexposure, because if you're not doing it correctly, it could actually just hinder the talents. And that's what happened last Monday. This Monday was a lot better, and we'll see how the events from Tuesday night shake out. That's what I got for you guys. Any other story would take a little bit longer, and I have to get on with my business and let you guys go about your day. Stay amplified, of course, until next time, and there will be a next time. Top guy, I'm out. BC saying check you.